Brief History of Early Indian Classical Period. C. 200 BCE, 650 CE. The assassination of the last Maurya in 185 BCE shatters the unity of the subcontinent. The northwestern gates swing open, welcoming the Indo-Greeks and their aggressive new monarchies. Seceding from the Seleucids, these Greco-Bactrian kings established a foothold south of the mountains. Successive waves of Shakas and Parthians follow, carving out competing power centers in the north. Though outlanders, these foreign rulers rapidly integrate by patronizing the indigenous Brahmanical system. In exchange for patronage, Brahmins bestow semi-Kshatriya status upon these new lords of the land. In the Deccan, the Satavahana dynasty rises, acting as a bridge between the north and the south. Under Gautamiputra Satakarni, the Satavahanas crush their rivals, asserting absolute triumph through currency. By the mid-1st century CE, the Kushans emerged from Central Asia to consolidate power. Kanishka I leads the empire to its zenith, ruling from the Silk Road deep into the Indian heartland. Kanishka becomes a legendary patron of Mahayana Buddhism, convening great councils of the faith. The Kushan court attracts towering minds, fostering a multicultural era of intellectual dynamism. By the early 4th century, the Gupta dynasty rises from obscurity to unify northern India. Samudragupta's military campaigns systematically dismantle tribal republics to establish hereditary monarchy. Under Chandragupta II, the Guptas reach their peak, crushing the Shakas and securing the coast. This golden age hosts a brilliant court where Sanskrit literature reaches its highest aesthetic form. Administration is meticulously structured, balancing central authority with regional autonomy. Local governance involves an Adhikarana, a board that keeps the state responsive to city interests. Professional guilds are systematically integrated into governance, minimizing central overhead. A sweeping Brahmanical synthesis occurs, creating an accessible Puranic Hinduism focused on personal devotion. Structural stone temples begin to emerge, moving away from the older tradition of rock-cut caves. Temple walls are adorned with sophisticated alto relievos depicting the grand myths of Vaishnavism. Despite the cultural glory, the status of women deteriorates during this era of rigid social codes. Social structures harden, and practices like untouchability and sati begin to appear in records. In the mid-3rd century, the Vakatakas rise in Maharashtra as the successors to the Satavahanas. Pravarasena expands the dynasty into a vast empire, assuming the imperial title of Samrat. Through marriage, the Vakataka court is integrated into the Gupta administrative sphere. Their administration emphasizes military supervision over the local collection of land revenues. Vakataka land grants are often drafted directly within the office of the military commander. The state relies on regular and irregular troops to enforce royal decrees and maintain order. Under Emperor Harshavardhana, the Vakatakas reach a second peak of artistic and political power. A brief, intensive burst of creative energy transforms the Ajanta caves into iconic masterpieces. The dry frescoes of Ajanta are created using mineral pigments over a carefully prepared base. These caves serve as both monasteries for study and spectacular halls for Buddhist worship. Royal land grants, like those issued by the Vakatakas, stimulate agricultural expansion into forest tracts. These grants are highly conditional, remaining valid only if the Donis stay loyal to the crown. The mathematician-astronomer Aryabhata proposes a heliocentric model, correctly explaining the Earth's rotation. Aryabhata computes the precise value of pi and lays the foundations for modern trigonometry. The decimal place value system and the concept of zero as a numeral are formalized during this era. This mathematical momentum continues with Brahmagupta, who creates the first rules for working with nothingness. Sushruta, the father of surgery, documents over 300 operations and classifies 120 surgical tools. Sushruta advocates for direct anatomical observation, pioneering techniques in reconstructive surgery. The Karaka Samhita establishes the principles of diagnosis, metabolism, and preventive healthcare. Indian metallurgy reaches a global peak with the production and export of superior crucible steel. The Nyaya school establishes rigorous logic and epistemology as the core of philosophical inquiry. In the Vaisheshika school, early concepts of gravity and atomism are formulated. Patanjali codifies the physical and mental disciplines required to achieve spiritual liberation. Vedanta philosophy emphasizes the monistic identity of the soul with the ultimate reality. Harsha ascends the throne in a moment of crisis, following the treacherous murder of his brother. After rescuing his sister, Harsha merges two kingdoms and establishes Kanauj as his grand capital. Harsha's southern expansion is checked at the Narmada, setting a permanent limit to his hegemony. Driven by a desire for authentic texts, Xuanzang travels 25,000 kilometers from Tang, China to India. Xuanzang spends years at the massive monastic University of Nalanda, becoming a favorite student. Harsha convenes a grand assembly at Kanauj to honor Xuanzang and promote Mahayana Buddhism. At Prayag, the king demonstrates extreme royal charity, distributing his entire wealth to the poor. As empires shift, the durable panchayat system emerges as the grassroots governing body of the village. In the South, a revolutionary movement democratizes salvation through fervent personal love for the divine. The economy becomes highly feudalized, as officials are paid in land rights rather than cash. Buddhism retreats into centralized universities, losing its connection to the daily lives of the lay populace. To maintain cohesion, Harsha spends his life on constant imperial tours, dispensing justice across his domains.